Hello and welcome to the Super Secret Scope. My name's Simon Gray and I'm going to be online tonight for probably about 10-15 minutes. I'm actually working late in the office. It's a beautiful night here in the UK. The sun's shining into the office window, and tonight online I am launching officially my second book, Super Secrets of Successful Executive Job Search. Hence the title, Super Secret Scope, because my first book, no surprise, was called Super Secrets of the Successful Job Seeker. So I'm hanging around in the office, thought I'd do a quick scope just to see if any of you guys out there online wanted to join the live webinar tonight. If you do, there's a couple of reasons to do that. The first reason is anyone who attends my live webinar has the opportunity to ask me anything about the job market, and I'll give you an honest answer. So it's free advice. The second reason is because anyone who attends the live webinar tonight will get a free e-book copy of this new book, Super Secrets of Successful Executive Job Search. And this really tells you everything you need to know to stand out in the job market, to find and then secure, so you find the job and then you secure the job that you want. And before that, of course, you've got to decide what it is you want, because how many people on the line tonight know what job they want, know what career they want? Because that's often the biggest battle. So my book and some of the stuff I'll talk to you about tonight will help you to decide what job you actually want and then go out there and find it and secure it. So can anyone tell me what they think might be, I entitled this scope, the 4 things that you need to know to find success in the job market. That's whether you're a senior executive, middle management, or really just starting out. Does anyone have an idea as to what those 4 things might be? Anybody, if you want to type in the box. And also let me know where you're from. Always interesting to know where people are jumping into these scopes from. Okay, well, the first thing I can tell you is that it's not your CV, because most people think it's a CV, but in actual fact it isn't, because CV is just a piece of paper and everybody has a CV. And the other thing you need to know about CV is people rarely read it. So I ran a recruitment company for 6 years and worked in recruitment for 10 years. And what I can tell you is that I've not read a lot of CVs. You scan read for things to jump out at you. So CVs aren't the most important thing. Don't get me wrong, you need a CV, but there's lots of other stuff that you need to be doing to find success. So when most people talk about the job market, the CV is the first thing they think about. And if you do online webinars or courses or whatever else, or job search, success. Yeah, somebody's asking, are grades important? Yeah, they are on a CV, of course, but it depends. You don't necessarily need to be academic to get a job. What about a vocational qualification? What about practical experience? So don't get too hung up on academics, because not everyone's academic. But if you can display skills and experience that's valuable to an employer that you target, and you can pitch yourself in the right way, then of course you'll find a job. Because my belief is everybody can find the job that they want. They just need to decide what it is. They need a different approach to go out there and find it, and then they need to do things differently to secure it ahead of the competition, which is other people vying for the same job. And people get very stuck on this, and they'll send their CV and then they'll wait and they'll wait and they'll wait. And when they don't get an instant result, they get despondent, they get depressed. And there's this thing called the downward spiral I talk about, where people get more and more depressed. So, when you're depressed or you've had some bad luck, what happens? Do you feel like getting up in the morning? Do you feel like taking action? Do you feel like doing that next application, talking to that next employer, talking to that next recruiter? You don't, do you? So the 4 things I'm going to talk to you about tonight really will help you to position yourself properly and to keep that mental well-being, that psychological well-being, so you can keep going. Because unfortunately, in the job market, there's no such thing as certainty. There's no such thing that whichever job you're going to apply for, no matter how good your skills and experience for that job, there's no guarantee you're going to get offered that job. And that's because the employer and you're people. We're people, and we're emotional people. And on any given day, you might get rapport with your interviewer, you might not. There's so many variables. We're not. When I ran my recruitment company, I wasn't selling vacuum cleaners to businesses. I was selling people effectively. The people I would put in front of my clients, on some days they do a great job, other days they may not do a great job. Other days they'll gel, other days they wouldn't. So there's so many moving variables. What it means is that recruitment and finding a job is a probability game. So that means you have to do a lot of it. You have to send out a lot of applications. You have to talk to a lot of employers, talk to a lot of people that can potentially introduce you to employers, and you have to keep going even when you take the knocks. Because in 10 years in the recruitment industry, I have never, ever, ever met one candidate or one job seeker that's got every single job that they went for, that were offered every single job. Just doesn't happen. There's too many moving factors. So anyone think what the 4 things might be? If it's not the CV, anybody? Think about what the 4 things are. I'm going to probably surprise you with these. So it's kind of a difficult question. Do I think it's possible for a Brazilian to become a doctor in England? Absolutely. I think it's possible to do anything. And the second thing I'm going to talk to you about is the thing that stops people in their tracks, and it stops people achieving their goals. So yes, in answer to your question, of course, we've got to do certain things and do the right research and the right preparation and the right approach to make that happen for you. I've changed career probably 2 or 3 times now, do completely different things. I trained as a chartered accountant. I'm not a chartered accountant. Well, I am a chartered accountant still, but I do completely different stuff. You know, I'm a job market strategist, executive career coach, whatever it is you want to call me. I also at the moment run a membership organisation, business organisation, and I also at the moment do some non-exec stuff. So I work with businesses to help them get clear on their strategy and to position themselves in the marketplace, and then to perform as well as they can. So you can be whatever it is you want to be. You just got to create it. Okay, so let's talk about number 1. Number 1. The first thing that you need to do to find success in the job market is to understand how the job market works, to understand what I call the job market environment. Okay, because the job market, what people see is not always the reality. So when I used to talk to my candidates who came into my business and ask them what they were doing in the job market, they'd normally tell me, well, do you know what? I've applied to some job boards, some adverts that I've seen. And secondly, I'm talking to recruiters, I'm talking to you. And then I'd say, well, what else are you doing? And they'd look at me blankly. And I'd ask them again, what else are you doing? And they'd still look at me blankly. Because a high proportion of jobs get filled in what I call the hidden market. And the hidden market is a place where opportunities are created all of the time and are filled before they ever turn up on a job board or before a recruiter ever gets hold of them. And you might be asking, well, why? Well, think about it. If you run a business and you want to hire somebody, what's the first thing you do? Do you go out to a job board and spend money on an advert? Do you go out to a recruiter and spend money on a recruitment fee? Well, probably not. What you'll probably do is talk to your peer group or your extended peer group, people who advise your business, and ask them, who do you know? Who do you know that could potentially do this job? This is the hidden market. So a lot of opportunities get filled in this space, but not many people know that it exists. And until you know that it exists, then you can't go after it. So in my books, I talk about this thing called the hidden market. We don't have enough time to talk about it tonight, but I just wanted to let you know that it does exist and that not all the opportunities out there are advertised or placed with recruiters. And in actual fact, the best time to apply for a job is when the job's not advertised, okay? Because then you're not in competition with anybody else. So the other thing on the job market environment to think about is if you think about, hi there, where are you? I can't read. Problem with Periscope, you can't read people's names. So just let me know where you're from if you're on the line tonight. It's always good to know where people are coming into the scope from. So the other thing to know about the environment is if you think about an employer, okay, it's painful to recruit. It takes time. It diverts, hi, my name's Simon Gray. It diverts energy away from doing the day job. So they don't really want to be doing it. So as a candidate or a job seeker, if you can make it easier for them to do it, then they're going to be very happy about it. But a lot of people that I talk to think, oh, I can't talk to an employer directly. I can't contact a business I want to work for directly because I'll be pestering or bothering them. But what if they're out in the market for somebody with your talent and you turn up on their doorstep, maybe not literally, but professionally, and hello from Springfield, Missouri, hi. You turn up there professionally and you've got the skills that they want for their business. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but 2 or 3 months down the line. And you're the only person to do that. So employers want their life made easier. And when they need to recruit, then often, they can't find the talent that they want. Got a question come in. Can I get a good job in the UK even though I don't feel I've got the level? Absolutely. Listen to this scope. Listen really, really carefully. Okay, so if you're thinking about coming overseas to the UK, you need to think about how the UK job market works. And you're already finding out how the UK job market works. I've talked about the hidden market and some of the pains and struggles that employers go through when they're looking to hire talent, which is why they're always keen to hear from good people. So that's number one. Understand the job market environment. Understand the lay of the land. Number two is psychology. Now, this is huge. And when people say to me, what's the most important thing that governs success or failure in the job market, I have one answer for them. And that's what goes on in here, psychology, what people believe. Because if you look at the news and you look at the press and you react to that on a daily basis, if it says the economy's in a bad spot, well, you kind of think, oh, the economy's in a bad spot. There's no jobs, there's no point looking. So guess what? I'm not going to do anything. Somebody asking a question. I hate when they ask me, why should we hire you? And what are your weaknesses on the job interview? Okay, when we do a bit of Q&A at the end, just remind me of that question and I'll come back to it. So let's carry on with psychology. So if you believe the job market's a bad place, well, how much action are you going to take? You're going to want to get out of bed in the morning to get kicked in the teeth and rejected because that's what you believe is going to happen? You're not. So you've got to change your beliefs. It's not about positive thinking. You know, positive thinking lasts 5 minutes until you get rejected the next time. It's about believing that there is a job out there for you. It's about believing that you can position yourself differently to every other candidate out there, which you can. And that's what standing out is all about. Although I've never met anyone who can tell me what it is, apart from what I put in my book, because I actually talk about how you stand out properly and professionally. So if you believe different things to everybody else, you take different action to everybody else, you think differently because your beliefs are different, then you're going to get better results. So you're going to take more action. So think about this. Most of you probably type something into Google every single day. So everyone used the internet. I presume you do because you're on Periscope tonight, albeit it's on a phone app. So think about your brain and think about your brain as a search engine. So if you type, you know, the job market's a bad place, or you typed, there are no jobs out there, what's the point? And you type that into Google, what kind of results would you get? You get results that reinforce that belief. It's exactly the same with your brain. So if you think the job market's a bad place, then you're going to attract more thoughts that think it's a bad place. So you know, you've got to address your beliefs. And if you get hold of a copy of my book, not that I'm trying to sell books online tonight, I'm trying to give you some free advice, but I talk about that in a lot more detail. And that's the most important thing: psychology and mindset. And somebody's just asked, what do I do if the employer asks me, why should I hire you? Well, you tell them why. So when you tell somebody why they should hire you, you've got to give them a reason. So it can't just be because I'm the best candidate, because I'm the only candidate, because I'm here, because your job's based in my town and I want it. It's no good. You've got to give them a reason. You've got to tell them a story. So their business has a problem. They need to recruit. And you've got to illustrate in story format, which is achievements on a CV, and how you position your experience at interview. You've got to tell them the story of how you can solve their problem. Because, you know, forget the job market for a moment. You know, because consumer world we live in, people have either pain or they have hopes or aspirations. That's why we transact throughout the world, yeah? People buy stuff every single day because they want to alleviate pain. Or they buy stuff because they want to feel good and happy. It's exactly the same, you know, for an employer. They're effectively buying somebody into their business. And it's either to solve a problem or to help them aspire to that next level. So through your achievements on your CV, which you position based on what you understand they want through your research, you then communicate that at interview. Really good question, really good question. So we talked about environment. We talked about psychology, massive subject. I could talk to you about this for 2 or 3 hours, but you'd all leave and go and do something else, so I'm not going to do that. Let's talk about the third thing. So who's got a car? Anyone got a car? Who's watching tonight? Anyone drive? Anyone drive anywhere that they don't know? I do all the time, always at different meetings here, there and everywhere. Okay, not got a car. Hi Jimmy B, welcome. We're talking about the 4 things that you can do to find success in the job market for those of you who have just joined. So if you get in your car from the US, great, it's great, must be getting late there now. I've got some friends in the US. So if you get in your car and drive to a destination you don't know where it is, you don't get your map out, or in modern times your sat nav out, what are the chances of you arriving at that destination? Anybody? Good chance, slim chance, bad chance, any chance? Not really. You might get there eventually, but you're probably going to get lost along the way. So I run businesses, and in business, what you first do is you put a strategic plan in place. You say, this is where I'm going. This is my destination. Exactly, slim chance. This is my destination. And you define it. And then you put a plan in place to get you there over a period of time. Okay, and you have various things that you have in your business plan, things like key performance indicators, things like milestone targets, to make sure that you stay on track and keep motivated along the way. So I work with senior executives and help them move in the job market. And some of these people, you know, they've run really big businesses, they've had to be responsible for planning, big budgets and what have you. But suddenly when they come to the job market, they leave it all to chance. So they don't put a plan in place, they're not quite sure where they're going. And as a result, then how are they ever going to find the destination that they want? Because they don't really know what the destination is, because they've not really thought about it and not gone through a process to define what it is. And that makes it very difficult when they come to talk to recruiters, people like I used to be, to try and convince somebody like me that what they want is what they really want, and they're, you know, committed to the process and sincere about that kind of opportunity. So planning is hugely important. So once you've got your you understand the environment. Hi, Sammy Smiles P. Where are you from this evening? So once you've got your environment, once you've got your psychology sorted, you then put a plan in place to say, this is where I'm going, this is how I'm going to get there, and you monitor it along the way. And if you're a senior exec in the job market, it might take you 6 months to find a job, and you need to take activity each and every day to get there. If you're coming out of school, college, or university, okay, you're going in at a lower salary level, lower entry position, it's going to be a lot quicker. But understanding what I call your calendar time, as well as your investment time, is really important. So planning is massive. And then we talk about the process. So number 4 is running a process, which is part of your plan. So many people think, I'll write my CV, I'll send it to a recruiter, or I'll put it on a job board and then I'll wait. And what happens? Kind of do this, don't you? You look at your watch and you wait. You look at the phone doesn't ring. You check your email doesn't buzz. And you start to get depressed and despondent. Because sending your CV and producing a CV is just one part of the process. There are other things that you need to be doing. So I talked at the start of this scope about what I call the hidden market. This is where people are searching for people with talent before ever going out to recruiters or placing adverts on job boards. And one of the places that they do that is on something called LinkedIn. And I've done a few previous scopes. If you go to my Facebook page, facebook.com/career codex, that's CODEX, you'll see a number of previous scopes, because I always post my scopes on there, where I talk about what you need to do on LinkedIn. So you need a LinkedIn profile, and that's your shop window to you. It's your online CV. And there was somebody, I think it was somebody on a scope the other night I was watching, or a blog post was saying, oh no, it was a podcast, was saying that you know, your LinkedIn profile is not the same as your CV. Well, they're kind of right, but they're kind of wrong. Because there's a lot more you can do on your profile, because you have recommendations, which is third-party verification of who you are and what you're all about. Really powerful, because we live in a society of distrust now. The more third-party verification or social proof that we can get for our skills and ability, which LinkedIn allows us to do through recommendations, then so much the better. So other things, networking. So you've got to get out the house. You've got to go and meet people that could potentially introduce you to people that may hire you. I call these people market makers. They're well-connected individuals who have the power to introduce you to people that may hire you now or in the future. Because when an employer needs to hire, as I said at the start of this scope, they talk to their peer group and say, I'm just looking at this question first. Keep going with the question. I think you give me half the question. They talk to people in their peer group and say, who do you know? Well, I run a business networking organisation, and there are 200. I'll answer that question in a second. It's about experience. Really good question. There are 230 businesses in my networking group, and if somebody approached me in the right way that was looking for a job and said, look, this is the kind of thing I'm looking for. This is why I think I'm good for that particular market. This is some of the experience I've got, some of the experience I haven't got, but I'm willing to get. Could you just keep me on your radar? I absolutely would, but it never happens, because people are still doing the traditional stuff of job boards and recruiters. There's nothing wrong with that, but you need to do something extra. So I have the power potentially to introduce people to jobs, and I get asked on a fairly regular basis, who do you know, who do you know? So the hidden market does exist, and I exist in it. I guess I'm a market maker. I could talk to you a lot about how to deal with market makers and get in front of market makers, but unfortunately we don't have the time, so I've got to jump on the live webinar shortly. But it's all in the book if you want to take a look. And then you've got you've got things like how do you handle the interview process, how do you handle the offer negotiation stage, and lots of other stuff that goes into this process. So there's an 8-step process to finding a job. Not to mention the planning, not to mention the psychology, not to mention the environment stuff. It can be a full-time job to find a job if you do it properly. But if you do it properly, the rewards are there. And you won't just get the job you see advertised. I'll say that again. You won't just get the job you see advertised. You'll get the job that you create, the job that you want, the job that you've designed. And, there is an opportunity, if you get good at this, to position yourself in front of an employer who was not even recruiting, and they'll still hire you because you've positioned yourself in such a way that they realise, they may not have realised at the start, they didn't know they wanted you, but they realise that they can't do without you. And that's a completely different mindset. Is Samantha my daughter? No, she's actually my wife if she's online. Samantha, are you online? Anyway, never mind. Let's get back to the focus. So, environment psychology. Yeah, we talked about planning, we talked about process, 8 steps to process. So now I'm going to throw it out to you to ask me anything you want to ask me. I've got about 2 or 3 minutes. Anything about your particular situation in the job market, anything about starting a business. That's the other thing I do at Career Codex. Career Codex, unlocking the secret to your success, which is either finding the job that you want or starting the business that you want, because not everybody wants a job. They want to create their own life, their own business, which is what I've done with my life. So. A couple of questions I had. Employers say, who said, you've had some compliments, Sammy. You've had some compliments, as you can probably see, but I know that, which is one of the reasons I married you. So there we go. Thanks for being online and supporting tonight. Anyway, somebody asked me about experience. So if you haven't got experience and you can't get a job, a paid job to get experience, what about getting work experience? Okay, even if it's for a week, for 2 weeks, for 3 weeks, it doesn't matter. There was a guy that I hired in my recruitment business about 3 or 4 years ago, and I probably would not even have looked at his CV, bar for the fact that he got 2 weeks work experience in a recruitment company. And what that told me was that he was serious about recruitment because he'd worked in it for 2 weeks for free. It told me that this guy knew what he was getting into, because recruitment's a tough business to be in. I can tell you, I did it for 10 years. Hence the lack of hair. I've got an apprenticeship after school with not very good grades and no experience. Okay, I'll come on to that. Because he got work experience, I took him seriously and brought the guy into the business. He'd researched the business, he presented himself well, offered him a job. And it's a prime example when I wasn't actually recruiting. I'd actually given up. This guy was fantastic, and the way he positioned himself was the reason that I got him into my business. Okay, fully qualified after 3 years doing car body repair, fantastic. So you're fully qualified, or you know where you want. If you look in your locality, if you want to work close to home, think about what the businesses are out there that you'd like to work for, and don't worry about whether they're advertising or not. Don't even worry about it. In fact, if they're not advertising and they're not out there in the marketplace saying we need to hire somebody, the best time. Okay, you approach them professionally in the proper manner, as I talk about in both of my books. Just get on and do it, and then you're in competition with yourself. So never let lack of experience be a blocker to you, because you can always get unpaid work experience. And I'm not talking for a long period of time, because I believe you should get paid for the time that you give up, and the time and the energy that you put into a business. But you can get some work experience, which will open the door maybe with the business you're doing work experience with, or with another business in the same sector or locality or whatever it is. Just demonstrates that you can be in an office, you can be in a factory, you can be in a hotel. It doesn't really matter. Whatever it is you want to do, get some work experience. And as I said at the start, don't let your qualifications be a blocker. Don't let your lack of qualifications be an excuse. Don't let your lack of experience be an excuse, because you can always move forward and do stuff. What we tend to do in life is we always worry about, this happened yesterday, that happened yesterday, so that's going to impact on what I can do moving forwards. If you had a bad run at your grades, doesn't matter. Go and get some new grades, some new qualifications, or go and get some experience. Okay, but just keep moving forward. I trained in Japan for 2 years in a martial art called Aikido. Does anyone know what Aikido is at all? Anyone know that? Aikido. Aikido is very different to other martial arts because you don't actually, it's not like boxing where you punch people and you hit people. It's about taking somebody's energy and using it against them, to win the fight without actually hurting your opponent. But one of the principles in Aikido is called irimi, and irimi means enter or move forwards. So in Aikido, you never take a step back, and this is a principle I brought with me from my time in Japan into my life. So, I get knocks like everybody else. I have bad days. I get rejected. A client doesn't want to talk to me. Somebody says, well, do you know what? I really like what you're saying, but in actual fact, I'm going elsewhere. And that's okay. I just keep moving forward because I believe in what I'm doing. So I think positive thoughts about what I'm doing, which have a substance in the belief, and I keep taking action, keep pushing on. Because, if it was that easy to find the job of your dreams, everybody would be doing it. So you've got to expect that it's going to be fairly tough. But if you're the one that, uses the irimi, the forward momentum, and keeps moving forward and learning from your experience, you're going to get there, I can promise you. Do you know anything about marketing business? Do you know anything about getting into marketing? Absolutely, I know quite a lot about marketing. So I do marketing for my own businesses, contacts to get it. Okay, so I don't specifically know the contacts for your locality where you're based, if you're in the US or whatever else. But what I would be looking to do is to start blogging maybe about marketing, start learning from people in the industry about marketing. So subscribe to some newsletters, start to learn about things like social media, start to learn about website creation, start to learn about how you engage with the press, do some courses, start to build a portfolio of activity that you're doing, to demonstrate that you're interested in marketing. And then once you've got that, you go to marketing companies. And when you turn up, or you talk to the marketing company, in fact, let me tell you this story. I'm going to tell you this story. I've got to keep an eye on time, so I've got to jump off to the live webinar shortly. Let me tell you this story. So there's a lady that I know who I use for PR. So PR and marketing, fairly similar. From time to time, she gets people, Sweden, hi from Sweden. She gets people, she was telling me the other day, she got a letter in her business. The letter was addressed to Dear Sir Madam, not to her. Now, she's in marketing, she's easy to find. You can see, you're on a website, you can see who the managing director is, but it wasn't addressed to the right person. And then it just talked about, have you got any jobs? That was it, I'm interested in working in marketing, but didn't demonstrate a real understanding of marketing or a real appetite to want to get into marketing. Contrast that with this person, if they'd have researched the company, looked on the website, seen who the managing director was, wrote a letter addressed to the managing director, looked at the new stuff on the website, perhaps made a comment about something that was on the website, a post, generated some interest, demonstrated they were interested in the business and done some research, and then talked about some of the things that this person had understood from either work experience in marketing or from doing online research, from following some of the best marketing people in the world. There's a load of professional marketing people on Periscope. I watch a lot of their posts, get some great tips. What if that person had demonstrated that and said, in the last 2 months, while I haven't been working, this is what I've done to improve my skills and abilities. I'll give you a call in a few days just to follow up on this. So remaining in control. And then followed up with a polite phone call to the managing director. That's a world away from the approach. Could be the same person, but it's a world away in the approach. And it's the approach that always matters. Because I can tell you, after 10 years in the recruitment industry, if you manage to get in front of a business, then you probably can do the job. Okay, you probably got the skills and experience. Otherwise, you wouldn't be there. What it comes down to is gut feel. So it's whether that employer thinks this is the person for me. And that can be based on a rational thought, an irrational thought, who knows? It could be on the day of the week, the time of the day, it doesn't really matter. So what I teach my clients to do, teach people I work with to do, is to control the interview process from start to finish so that the interview goes really, really smoothly. And, thank you, Mr. Gray. Oh, that's very nice of you to say. It's very formal, but thank you. And now I'm off to do some job search. Say hi to your wife from Sweden. There we go. There we go. Let me just shut that down. That's popped up on the screen. So there we go. It's a family affair tonight. Family affair. So lost my train of thought. So completely lost my train of thought. But there we go. That's the challenge of Periscope. So get some experience and just go out there and do that. My belief is that in life we have one opportunity, and we have a duty. We have a duty to burn as bright as we can. Not just for us, but everyone around us, because you are the product of the people that you hang around. You are the product of the people that surround you. They're the people that motivate you, the people that you bounce off. So, you know, go out there, get the experience, whether it's paid or not paid. Decide what it is you want to do. Take massive action to go out there and get it. Don't be deterred by rejection. It's just part of the process, and keep going. So if you've liked what you've heard on the podcast, not podcast, there is a podcast on iTunes, Career Codex, if you want to listen to that. If you like what we heard on the scope tonight and you want to be kept in touch for future scopes, follow at Career Codex on Twitter. Go to my Facebook page, facebook.com/Career Codex. And if you're watching the replay or actually watching this live, if you just flick to the left and share this and follow for next time, that would be greatly appreciated. So my name's Simon Gray. This is the super secret scope from Career Codex, unlocking the secret to your success. And if you want to jump on the live webinar in about 10 minutes, I'm going to be on air for an hour talking about the job market, talking about a lot of this in more detail, then you'd be more than welcome. So until then, I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.